this meeting to order, committee of the whole, and approval of the agenda first. Okay, second. Councilor Marcus, Councilor Mann. Pick one, pick one.
I think it's gonna pass.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. All those in favor? Thank you. Adoption of minutes of the committee of the whole. Okay. So, Miller. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Now, item 3A and B here, we've had previous discussion on, as everyone knows. And Mr. Forlowski or Ms. Bellingham, if you would like to open discussion on this.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Attached to the package is the report presented to Council at the last meeting with the detailed feedback. Since that time, we've received 2 letters, and I believe Council has received both of them. One from Ms. Lydia Chuse, and the last one from Ms. Charlene Harrison-Hines. It was directed to staff after committee discussion that 3 items be sorted out, basically a non-compete, make sure it was sorted out that way. Take out the shall and replace the penalty statement with may. And there was one other issue, which was overnight ability to place garbage at the curbside. So because the document as a whole has to be read as a whole, I highlighted the specifics related to the changes. And there were some other minor changes, but again, the document has to be read as a whole. So if we go from the beginning of the document on page 2 of 6, in order for the non-compete detention to be maintained, I've added the definition of waste disposal site, which doesn't speak to a district waste disposal site, but a waste disposal site or transfer station, recycle depot, etc. So there is the ability for someone else, provided they meet the zoning and other regulations, to actually potentially open one up within the district. And further to that, under paragraph 3B, you will see that in particular the waste disposal site definition is made use of here, in that it doesn't direct that no person shall deliver, place, bury, or dump, or cause to allow to be buried, placed, dumped, any garbage, solid waste, etc., anywhere in the district other than, in this case it says, a waste disposal site. It does not say the district transfer station.
Excellent.
Further, I made a change in relation to paragraph 512. I just added any other material that may be regulated by provincial law, regional or district bylaw or regulation. So it's untransferable, unvariable, as it were, from a landfill point of view. When we get to the overnight placement for collection, that is in paragraph 8C, number 8. Roman numeral 8. It stated before that it was on the morning of the regular scheduled day for collection. Staff has put in there as per direction the ability to do it overnight. We've suggested that it be not earlier than 6 p.m. the night before. I have to state though that any other bylaws that we've come across, they do say it's the day of, but they choose to not enforce it, which is not a best practice as far as bylaw regulation and enforcement goes. So if it's council's wish that overnight deposit of garbage and waste be allowed, then it's best defined in the bylaw so everyone can see it and everyone knows it. That's best practice. And then obviously in paragraph 10, we've replaced the word shall be liable to may be liable, to a penalty not exceeding $500 each day. I've also added or occurrence, depending on the offense. For example, an animal offense for traffic. That a violation continues to exist is a separate offense.
Let me add, under this section, for this offense, it's a municipal ticket which goes through the provincial courts. So as this bylaw moves through to being adopted, we will include it in our bylaw notice of action. So that way it can go through the adjudication process and we can likewise still issue fines specific to certain sections of this.
Okay.
So those are the changes, Your Worship, for your committee, obviously to continue to discuss. You've got 2 extra letters, and I noticed that there are some interested parties in the audience.
Interested parties, I see it, interested parties. Council discussion?
Sure, yeah, we'll start. So, I guess that sticky point here for, out of everything that's been changed is still the overnight collection. That's the one that I'm thinking all the people in the audience are here for. So, I just wanted to start the discussion on it. I'm still kind of hung up on something, and I had a good conversation with a couple people that are out there. That made me sort of see it from the other side, and that is, there are people that are gonna be motivated by knowing that there's a fine attached to something. And that might be enough, and it kind of leads to the point that you just made about other municipalities that have decided to put that in their bylaw, but have chosen to not enforce it. That's my issue, is the enforcement. I think there's already bylaws that we have that are not enforced, or we don't have the capacity to enforce them, and I don't want to add to that list. So that's where I keep getting hung up. At the same time, I know that the Black Bear Committee has done a fantastic job of educating everybody, and I don't want them to feel that they've done all this work for years for nothing. They've been working towards this. Shaking heads, I understand that. So I'm kind of torn. I don't really want to make a suggestion one way or the other. I don't need to be a fence sitter, but I want to hear some more discussion about it, that hopefully we can come to a conclusion. But my issue is, even if we put it in the bylaw, like you say others have, and choose to not enforce it, you might as well not have it there. What good is that? The one question I do have that we talked about originally, when we first started talking about this, was the idea that perhaps our bylaw officer could start an early day once in a while, and that would allow us to somewhat enforce the bylaw. I know that our goal is always voluntary compliance, and that fines wouldn't be issued right away, but maybe for those few that are called offenders, a notice saying, hey, we've noticed that this is the case, from the district, not from the Black Bear Committee or conservation officer. Maybe that would be enough to change their habits, and if there is issues and they cannot bring it out, perhaps there's a way we could add something in the bylaw that would allow for exceptions. I don't know who would grant those exceptions, but I'm just wondering if that's a possibility. So that's kind of where I want to start. Hopefully other people have some input. There's only 4 of us here.
Yeah. Makes the input quicker. Ms. Billion?
If I know it's a struggle to make a decision one way or the other, because there's pros and cons to both. If we were to leave out with the wording that's presently presented in front of you, would it ease it to, if we added an addition to that, to sort of say it's encouraged that citizens put it out the day of?
Well, if I
Not
could,
good enough.
even the way it's written here, shall not be placed up for collection earlier than 6 p.m. We can't enforce that. We don't have anybody after 5 o'clock, I assume, or whatever. So, once again, it's almost like, if you're gonna do that, you might as well do 6 a.m. At least it's satisfactory for the committee. But I want there to be some sort of mechanism there, because there's gonna be some people that don't have the ability to, and hopefully they can ask for help from neighbors, or let us know why they haven't. I don't know, there's gotta be a common ground that makes it good for everybody.
Okay, a couple of quick things I'd like to add, and obviously this whole issue is a contentious one. I think that the big victory on this, once this is moving forward, is the offenses and penalties section, because it was made very clear to us that conservation will not come and support us in any way on a regular basis. So small infractions, not even part of their program because they're short-staffed, and the conservation officer that attended was very clear in his statement as to, you're kind of on your own here, and people will only get a warning initially anyways to start off, so there's no immediate fine involved. I don't think I've had more calls on any other issue than this one. The concern by the people, a lot of whom aren't here obviously here tonight, but I probably had 4 dozen calls on people saying, I'm retired, spent my whole life getting up at 5 in the morning, it ain't gonna happen now. That's the long and the short of it. That's what a lot of people have told me. So, you know, already regulations are open to adjustment, so I mean, if there is a problem, we try this out, and the night before does not work, we can always make amendments to that. I think a lot of the wildlife and rodent problems we have are not necessarily attached to garbage cans that are out a few hours ahead of time. They're related to some other issues which we've discussed as well. So we do have the penalty section there, which does allow our bylaw enforcement folks to go out there and levy fines on folks that are being ignorant as far as putting out attractants of wildlife and pests on a regular basis. So, I mean, there's been a lot of ground gained there, I would say. Now, Lydia had her hand up here, so I think it's probably very appropriate to invite Ms. Coop.
Well, we have previous handed you guys information like from North Vancouver with the letters what the bear program goes out and takes garbage like we do, and if they have done it 2 or 3 times, they hand it off to the district, and the district writes an official letter. I have given you all the samples. Most people, they will confirm they will pay a fine. They will change their habit once they have got an official letter from the district. So they said, and I have told you guys that before, that of the hundreds of letters that they have sent out last year, they had actually 3 fines handed out. And that's for North Vancouver. So how big of a deal would it be here in Hope? It's a small town. We have done 4 years education, and we really haven't come across such a huge problem with garbage, yes, but not with that many people who are not willing to, who have to put the garbage out. So I'm really nervous, really emotional about that.
Yeah.
So it's a slap in our face if you guys don't do that, because we have worked for this 4 years. We've tried to clean up the town. We have tried to change people's bad habits, and I've gotten actually pretty good at it. So at this moment we just need to have the support of the district. And that would be with the bylaw. If that bylaw is not there, not changed, then the problems keep on going. You guys say we have not had any problems with bears. That's not true. We had 6 weeks, 2 bears going through garbage between Quacker Lake and Coquihalla. Maybe you guys should have asked, why do we not have any problems out there? Because we are all out in the community the whole time. We put over 1,000 hours into it, and then that's what we are thanked for. With it's, I think it's, to me, just not understandable. They have a huge problem with bears in the Lower Mainland right now because of fruit, but it's still on the trees. Hope has no fruit anymore. Why? Because we picked it. And that's why we don't have problems with it.
Fully understood, but I think the big issue here is education, so a lot of the...
We have done it for 4 years.
So if people know that it's less likely to attract wildlife if you put it out in the morning, if you can put it out in the morning, then, you know, obviously most people will do that. A lot of people work shift work. The level of feedback on this has been extraordinary.
Now you're gonna go and tell them, okay, no, it's okay, you can put it out the night before.
Yeah.
People will go and do it because, hey, you guys told them to. It's allowed now.
Okay, Councillor Dudley?
So I'm just wondering, in this bylaw, did it not used to say before 4 AM and we couldn't put it out? Was there an actual time or
I don't think there was a.
was there ever a time? Okay, so I'm wondering if we could implement something that they could put it out the night before if they were in bear-proof containers. So if people are interested in buying their own bear-proof container, then they could do so. So if they did work and have to leave, 3 in the morning, they could put their garbage out, but it would have to be I don't know if they're certified bear.
Yes,
containers.
they are. And
So if they actually did that, then that would be in compliance with the bylaw. Otherwise, it couldn't go out until before 4 AM or 5 AM or something of that nature. And then, what time does the garbage truck start collecting garbage? Is it 8?
Seven.
It's,
So I guess if you don't get your garbage picked up 1 week, you're gonna realize that you have to get it out before 7 AM, right?
But that's only a small part of the town who actually has 7 AM
Right.
pickup.
Yeah, so typically when your garbage is being picked up.
Yeah.
So you can put it out appropriately. But I guess I'm just wondering if we can come to some happy medium in the sense of having if you have a bear-proof container, that they can put it out the night before.
that's potential, your worship. I just wonder maybe if Ms. Coote has a rough figure, what it costs for a bear-proof container that you can move curbside?
Yes, I have given you guys that many times before, but they are roughly $200. I have also given the information to the district. If the district would buy 20 or 50, the price would significantly go down, and people who don't have a car and can go and buy one in Chilliwack, the main office is in Langley. You can pick them up in Chilliwack. Then they could come to the district and get them by the district. I have tried to get them to Rona. Rona doesn't want to cooperate either to get them into town. There are possibilities, people who are kept or senior that they really can't do, that they have a doctor letter and they can maybe get that in from the district for a cheaper price or something like that, so that we subsidize them to make sure they get their garbage bear-proof on the curb.
And Lydia, are those garbage cans easily are they mobile enough for someone that they're not big and bulky?
They have wheels.
They have wheels?
Yeah.
And are they good for recycling and is it
No,
garbage
it's
and
just
the
garbage.
garbage? Just the
Yeah.
waste?
What in the future could be changed, because once we have the green bins where the kitchen scraps go in, then the green bin will be the better tract, and the garbage bin will not be longer a garbage better tract, and so you could just change it. But at the moment it's the garbage can that is the better tract.
Ms. Hines, and
My question is, if the highways had no speed limit, how fast would people drive? Drive as fast as they bloody well please, right? I mean, the point is, if someone knows that they are at risk of paying consequences with hard cash, chances are they're going to pay attention. You want to leave it at the status quo that they can put it out in the morning. Bears, if you do any homework on it, they are not really nocturnal, but they're most active looking for food dusk, dawn, that time frame. So it's like shopping at McDonald's for them. And I just don't see why this is such a bone of contention when there are solutions that have been put forward on several occasions by the group to fix the problem. So, if people know there's a potential consequence, chances are they're going to pay attention and they're going to toe the line. But if there are no consequences, party on. This is very near and dear to my heart, even though I have not been very active, because I've been busy with other things. But I don't want to see any bears shot. I don't want to see any people hurt. And there's a really simple cure. Don't put the attractants out. It's not a big deal, that's all. There are solutions, so.
The lady next to Ms. Hines?
Thank you very much for letting me speak. Jerry, I think that's commendable what you're suggesting. I lived in an area, in a strata area, where we had a bear in our backyard on top of our grapevines and so on, which we thought was cute at the time. I was not educated to attractants. I didn't realize there were bears in the area. And we also had our garbage outside our garage because we thought that was a good spot to not have stinky garbage, like inside the garage was not good. Since we were educated, and because I am on the bear committee, and bears and everything are near and dear to my heart as well, more so than people, I think, sometimes. But anyway, we have been putting our garbage, we've moved, put our garbage inside, picked the grapes and so on, didn't have a problem with it. Now, the whole complex was educated by the Black Bear Committee and members of council, and I sent His Worship an email pertaining to this. I don't know if you received it, I hope you did. That the answer was, I'm leaving my garbage outside 24/7, 365. This is a member of council there, not this council, of course, and said, bears don't come in here. Well, I'm sorry, the no trespassing sign is not read by the bears. I don't know about anybody else, but they do not read English. And yes, they do come in there, because we had them 2 years in a row in our backyard. It just happened that we dealt with them. And the comment of, well, we're retired. We don't want to have to get up at 5 in the morning to put our garbage out. Well, nobody asked you to get up at 5. Get up at 6:30, get up at 7. I'm a senior, like I'm really getting older. And I find I have to be in bed by 7:30 or 8 or 9. You know, like we don't have grad reunions now beyond 10 o'clock because we can't handle it. But we're getting up earlier in the morning too. And as Lydia said, and others have said, is that most areas in Hope, we don't get garbage pickup until 8, 8:30, 9. Where I am now, it's close to noon. So like you say, if you know your area, sleep in, have a cup of coffee, some extra toast, and put your garbage out for your 10 o'clock pickup. But I think to say, and I appreciate that you have 48 people phone you or contact you, we're not all people that want to sleep in. Hey, our life is short. We don't have as many years now at that end of our life. We want to get up and enjoy the day. So you can't put it on 48 people to say, well, they want to sleep in and shouldn't have to get up because they're retired. There's probably 2,000 of us that are up, maybe even more than that in Hope. So I just want you to appreciate all sides of that discussion. And, you know, a fed bear is a dead bear. And if you allow people to put their garbage out the night before, you're contributing to a bear possibly being shot. And I think that is unacceptable.
Okay, thank you. Actually, Councilor Medlock's been waiting.
Okay.
We'll get to it shortly here.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Where was I? Writing notes. Okay, so I like Ms. Hines' comment there about the speed limits and how if there was no speed limit, of course people would speed. But to flip that around, just I like to think about it all, there is a speed limit now, and if people were told there's a speed limit, but we're not gonna enforce it, they're still gonna speed. So it's the same thing. If we're gonna put a time on it, it has to be able to be enforceable, and that's why I'm kind of looking over there. What can the district do to at least contribute to enforcing that? Because I'm not sold on it unless we're gonna do something about it. And then is it possible to use information provided by the Black Bear Committee when they do their early morning rounds? I assume you're willing to still do those things, I assume. Is it, you know, they take pictures and have some proof. Is it possible for the district to use that information to initiate a letter to a resident, or do we have to have our own staff do it?
We can use it. We've had concerns come forward in the past from some of the public with their places being photocopied or.
Yeah, it's not popular.
Yeah, it's not popular.
People that get caught don't like to be caught.
No, so, if you want to vary the bylaws for certain hours, you know, start earlier, finish earlier, either way, at the end of the day, we lack without enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely, there is a cost to it on the flip side, I
That's
understand
right.
that.
And we have to be respectful of the work-life balance for our staff.
Do you think it's possible though, once in a while, once every couple of weeks?
I can talk to the officer and see how that works out for his
I think
personal life.
for myself to get on board with the time, it has to be attached to some sort of enforcement or it's useless. And that's where I'm hung up still. So maybe before we make a decision, we could get some information that way too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Can I comment?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's possible to do a bit of a pilot, a 6-month pilot, so that where we have the bylaw enforcement officer go out once a week, working alongside the Black Bear Committee and seeing around enforcement, so that we can, as part of an educational phase as well for the public. So if we put a time frame that says not before 4 AM or 5 AM unless you have a bear-proof container, and then working with bylaw enforcement, working with the Black Bear Committee, we can maybe do a 6-month bit of pilot and see what that looks like, and then come back. I mean, right now, we're going into the winter season, and I mean, I'm not a bear expert, so I'm assuming, I don't know if bears hibernate still or not in this area. But it might not be beneficial during this period of time. I don't know, I'd have to look to the Black Bear Committee as to, you know, is this the best time to do that, or would the spring be the best time to look at a pilot?
Your worship, if council directs that we redraft, allowing for an idea that was mentioned about exceptions would be by bear-proof can only. The bylaw can be rewritten so that it's certified bear-proof cans, but I would suggest that instead of us necessarily making a purchase or determining what that can is, if we leave it to the individuals to buy their own version of the certified bear-proof can, then it gives them freedom to determine if it's going to be a stationary one or a wheelie one or what form wheelie one, as opposed to potentially us picking one model that's not going to make everybody happy either. So I'm wondering if I can ask through you, worship, if that would be an acceptable sort of compromise to this.
We had a couple ladies who want to speak to it. Ms. Holman?
Yes, I wanted to comment on the seniors. I'm a senior, and I don't know a senior that goes to bed, let's say at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and doesn't have to go to the bathroom in the 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And what I do on garbage day, I put on the cozy, coat and the toque and boots. I take out the garbage, I go back to bed for another couple of hours. So I don't think that's a, and then I think, I personally, if there's a handicapped person that cannot put the garbage out in the morning, I don't think we have that many in town. Maybe you can have a special allowance or exception, for these people. Because if there is 5 or 10 people doing this may not attract a whole bunch of bears to stay in town and feed on the garbage. We had that problem in 2011, wasn't there 360 or I don't know? 350 plus. Plus, yeah, problems there and calls to the conservation officer. And it is thanks to Lydia and some of us that we went and educated. At the time, the restaurants had open garbage bins. The automotive people, they had open buckets with oil. Nothing was, closed. And by the way, even last year at the hospital there, they didn't close their garbage at night, and there was a brown bear. And it was actually, somebody saw it that works at the hospital, was pooping plastic bags, So, and throughout the summer, I listened to CBC in the morning. Many, many times they said, don't put your garbage out. Not that there was a law, but just telling people don't put your garbage out the night before. And it isn't then, in wintertime, maybe the bears aren't wandering around, but if people put out plastic, black garbage bags, raccoons get in there, rats, we have a rat problem in town, and crows and things will pick it apart too. You have a mess. So I think the garbage should be, contained, and we should have a bylaw. There are other communities that have the bylaw, and it seems to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bellinger?
Hi. I wanted to comment on the garbage service. That's a problem I have on our street.
is I never know what time they're coming. Sometimes it's early in the morning. I've had it sit out there as late as 4:30 to 5 o'clock at night, and I've actually had to call first class to see whether they're coming to get it or not. So that's another issue. And I've gone along and picked up garbage on our street where they haven't come around to pick it up, and the bears have dragged it off into the bush, and I've had to get garbage bags of my own to pick up the garbage, and yeah. So I'm constantly on the phone to that company.
Got them on speed dial.
Yeah,
Your
not
Worship,
good.
can I respectfully ask if you'd get a hold of us, come into District Hall and give us all that information, we'll.
Yes,
we'll see to
I
it.
will, yeah.
Okay.
Hi. Thank you. I'm a senior as well, and I don't have any trouble getting up early in the morning. In fact, many seniors don't sleep well, so it's not an issue for a lot of us. I appreciate Mr. Medlock and Ms. Douglas' comments on how to work proactively towards this. We really appreciate the trial situation. I really think the bylaw is necessary. I don't know why communities don't have an enforceable bylaw. It seems incomprehensible to me. It was mentioned in the first draft of this bylaw that we have a person go out early, the bylaw officer, and proceed with, checking out that people are not doing this. And I have yet to really understand why it's a problem to enforce the bylaw. I'm not exactly sure if it's the staffing issue, if there needs to be more staff.
Purely resources.
One guy.
Yeah,
One
one person
guy.
does everything in home.
And how does he determine his priorities? Does somebody determine it for him? Is he just wheeling around out there on his own? I really don't know why things are not enforceable.
It's not a matter of not being enforceable, it's a matter of one person can't deal with every bylaw infraction that's out there. So as a rule, it's on a complaint basis. So if something is a nuisance to a neighbor or someone in the community, then they determine is it a legitimate complaint or not. And there's one person to do it all. Now certainly we can hire other people, but it's just a tax issue.
Does anybody overlook at these complaints on an overall basis to see where the focus is or to what the real problems are?
Yeah, Ms. Bellingham oversees it.
Okay, and is that possible to make, the garbage thing a priority for a 6-month basis?
We could do a trial period, like I said, we have to be respectful too of staff for work-life balance too.
What do you mean by work
Oh, I
balance?
know.
Well, if we're gonna start a bylaw officer at 3 in the morning to do patrols, I mean, that could be an inconvenience to their personal life as well, so we do have to be respectful.
But if the pickups don't start till 7, he really doesn't need to be out there till 6 in a specific area.
It depends what time the council elects to
But
put in the
something
bylaw.
could be worked, right? Well, if they put it out at night, it'll still be there at 5.
But that's a valid concern. I know if my employer told me that one day a week I had to start working 6 hours earlier than I do, I'd be pretty upset about that.
Well, 6 hours I could see, but
Well, that's what I think we're asking here, really.
No, I'm just suggesting he could go out at 5 or 6. At 6 even, then in various areas, depending on the pickup.
I agree. In respect to our staff, I think it'd be wise to just ask them, how comfortable would be, what time he'd be willing to start, how often, those kind of questions, and maybe
We've
he's,
got time to work on this.
maybe he like getting off early once in a while, right?
But we also then will suffer at the other end.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Right, so, but it's something we can look into, for sure.
Thank you. Ms. Coote?
I
finishing
know
up?
that First Class has told me themselves that they have a couple of handicapped people where they actually go and get the garbage themselves because the people cannot put it out themselves, so they want to go in the house or in the garage and go and get it and put it at curbside. So there is always a solution to something, but we would just have to talk about different kind of solutions.
So I guess a couple of questions have to be asked. The staff capacity, is it even possible to reallocate our single bylaw enforcement officer to do this a couple times a week or what have you? Is that a practical, practical solution. The other thing is bear-proof containers. You know, maybe find out, we have the information from Lydia that I believe somewhere in the mix in that huge file that she gave us, as to the different choices for bear-proof containers, because $200 a pop is probably not too palatable for most people on a fixed income. So, because you need 2 of them, potentially.
Right.
Yeah. So,
If I can then get sort of a summation, and I'll read this back to you then.
mhm.
So, we'll make another draft. What we'll do is we'll change the pickup to a period of time in the morning, 6 AM, 7 AM, something like that, provided that if you want to bring it up earlier, like the night before, and again, I would suggest that it's a certified bear-proof can or container. I believe, and I'll draft it 2 ways, but I actually believe we should put the freedom on the consumer, the resident at this point, to pick a style, a type. Because, for example, if you're a cottager or you're not here several days of the week, you may not want a mobile one. You might want the standalone one at the front of your yard, and that's bear-proof. And we can actually encapsulate that in the district, provided it's an approved bear-proof certified container by the District of Hope. And then we'll look at, again, enforcement. A 6-month pilot project, we don't have to put in the bylaw, we'll just make that a public education point to say, along with this new bylaw, we're implementing a 6-month pilot project. And I believe those are all the changes. Oh, and exceptions. I'll draft up a clause for an exception, and we'll see if we can limit it or try to make it a certified exception, like severely handicapped potentially or something. But there again, we may want to insist then, if that's the case, that there's a bear-proof container somewhere in that mix.
I think those instances are gonna be very limited, right? So I'm glad to hear that First Class is working with their customers.
Yeah, they're pretty customer friendly.
So we'll work on those issues, Your Worship, and we'll come back at the next committee of the whole, and we'll circulate obviously via the package a redraft,
Mhm.
and then there'll be more comment
Mhm.
as we move forward.
Okay, sounds good. Now, I think what we should probably do is head right into the council, and maybe the pest control one, we can maybe adjourn the committee of the whole if council wants to deal with that tonight or at the next meeting. But we do have a scheduled council meeting we're already very late for, so that might be the best plan. I know we have a number of people that would like to attend, I think they're sitting on the side, the actual regular council meeting. We have a couple of board members here, so.
But we did have somebody here for the pest control to provide some personal research that they had done.
That's true, but I mean, I mean, Victor's tabled that information, and if he wants to stick around and talk to us at the end of the council meeting, that's good, but we didn't, that's kind of an impromptu, happen tonight kind of thing, so. Yeah. And thank you to all the good folks here that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to us.
Folks in the fancy yellow shirts,
I'm proud of it.
uniform. Okay, let's take a 2-minute break. Our friendly discussion at the almost started at the committee of the whole. So I guess, Mr. Smith, AKA Victor, you have a few comments you would like to bring to us? You did some research
Yep, did some research.
as a local mover and shaker?
Well, I talked to staff and everything like this, and so it was easy for me. I went to Rona and talked to him, so he punched out all the traps they've sold in the last 18 months. So then you can see by month when they've sold more or less. And that October, like for the rat traps, we'll say, they were 71 this October, and last October was 70. But you get down to June, they only sell 12. So it is when it gets cold, of course, they try to come in, and that's when everybody has their problems in that, eh? So page 2, you see they have it similar in the mice too. Eh? You got 82. Now you got to realize the mouse traps, those are packages of 2. So it's 82 packages.
And that's not very nice at all.
140 miles.
Yeah. So the mice are doing well
That's not
too.
very nice. You know.
Yeah, very nice. And then the last page is on the poison net. They actually don't sell much in that because a lot of people do realize it. You got to be very careful with that, eh? Not because there's your other pets and other animals and everything around. But the rat traps too, if you read what we have, there's a report from the health link there from, BC. And so now what staff does, they have some right on the front counter of this, so people, it's available to them if they want to take a look at it, read, just trying to be proactive about the things up front there. And a lot of things are basic like you did. One of the things, I looked at some other ones, in East Vancouver, it shows that they had a rat issue in the community garden. So in the picture, you can see 19 rats on the ground there. But what happened was the lady was throwing bird seed out for the birds, but unfortunately the rats were eating it. And so they stopped that and it helped. But also, I was down there on Friday, if you look around the area, there's a lot of other issues too that goes to why there's so many things going on in that area. But I mean, people got to be proactive in that age. I know it's not the district's fault, but just trying to give direction. But one thing that's happened, I talked to Rona, and what we have here is a electrified rat trap and mice.
That's a
What it
shocking
does-
idea.
Yeah. So we have chicken strips here they use for feed inside. So it's nice and clean and everything else, thing like this. And it's very healthy too. It's 97% fat free.
You want them on too when they get electrified.
Yeah. So you put it in a trap and you have it for like about 3 days with it off, and it keeps disappearing. Put it in. The 4th day you turn it on, and then they think it's a place they come and eat. And what's nice about it is it electrocutes them, and then you just pick up, you turn it off, you pick it up and go to the garbage, slide it in the bag, and put it down. It's nice and clean, it's neat. Now, they were $82. Okay, maybe not neat on per. I'm sorry about that, George. But anyway, what's happened here is these are $82, they were in Chilliwack. So I went to Rona. Rona's bringing in 20 now at $70. So they're cheaper than Chilliwack, if you're trying to make it help out for people in here. I've talked to a few businesses, and I know some are going to buy this to be proactive. Now, Rona, what triggered with them to get involved in that is over the last 2.5 months, they got 32 rats. They got one outside covered rat trap and one inside. But now it's dropped off. They're rarely getting any. So you got to take that step to be proactive to be it. And I say, but this is just another way of trying to, look after it. It's nice and clean and neat for people. And like I said, Rona's going to have it on Friday. They'll start having some traps in, and just a clean, neat way to try and take control of this. Because the traps, say you got to put like 3 out, because they got to eat on one until they get tricked into the other one. They're pretty smart. Those Norwegian rats and that are.
They're city rats.
They're big. They're big.
Do they fit in there?
Yeah, they fit in there. They fit in a lot of things. But the thing is with the poison, like if they get in the wall, you can't find them, and it's not good for about 2 months. Really not nice in your place, and then it goes away. But if you have a little bit of water leak, the smell comes back. So then you'll know where it is by the water leak. But anyway, just another alternative, right? For,
Yeah, no, that's a
so
good
somebody
idea.
phones, front desk, and then say, look, the city's done something to try and help them out here, and here's what's available, folks, and be proactive, eh? And it's not mayor and councils and staff's responsibility to get it, but if you did some insight, right, we're trying to help out a bit here, so. Anyway, so that was a little report, so. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I have a question though.
Yes.
So you say that Rona,
I'm just curious.
I know it's
so Rona has minimized their rat problem.
Yep.
So what? So the other rats have got smart because their friends haven't come back, so they realize not to
No,
do
it-
stuff anymore?
Don't jump
was-
at Rona.
And they're going somewhere else?
It was so bad a couple months ago that in the afternoon, if it was quiet, the girls could hear him running about in the roof ceiling.
Yeah.
But the one that really did it, Evie said, was when the girl walked in the door and there's a rat and 2 little ones standing by the tail in the morning waiting for her. Okay, you gotta do something.
Yeah.
This is over the top.
So obviously, they've controlled their rat problem, but
Right.
the rat problem is elsewhere
They
on
move.
Wallace Street, right?
Yeah,
So
but-
I've heard that, all sorts of
But some
stories.
people are already willing to step up and buy these and try and be a part of it. So the more people that do that, it's gonna
Right.
bring it down and get in control. The biggest problem, in fact, is the weather's been so good. It's not just a hope thing. Like, some people have said some things that aren't true, eh? Like, a truck stopped out at the Flying J and they all jumped off here. Another guy said that the river was low this year, they swam up here and this is not true, actually. So, but the fact is, the weather's been warm. They've thrived. It's everywhere, the whole Fraser Valley. It's not just here. But if we can be a little more proactive for our town, right, just makes it better.
Right.
Okay?
Good.
Good cat.
Okay?
Yeah, you need a tiger, a cat won't work.
Thanks.
Yeah. My dog plays with them.
So I commend Mr. Smith because he on his own accord
Yeah.
went to this extra measure and did this investigation on behalf of the citizens of.
Well, Victor Smith is a mover and shaker. If he wouldn't have been here tonight, we would have had to put an APB on him. So it's been like, where's Victor? He should be here.
That was a wonderful infomercial, thank you.
We've got this information sheets that Fraser Health does through HealthLink BC provide. And we can put a spotlight on our district webpage, promoting this, measures that people can do to mitigate rodents living on their property. And open composting is a big issue, and people like to still open compost, and as long as people are gonna continue to promote open composting or putting seeds out of that, we're gonna have an issue. So, we have checked with other municipalities. There's not any municipality that they themselves deal with rats or rodents. It's a collective effort of everybody doing their part, working together, and if Rona's willing to bring in these traps, eradicators as they're called. You know, and at a reasonable price, cheaper than what you can get in the valley, I think it would be a great measure moving forward. But I think, and maybe we can look at providing these handouts in property tax notices as a insert going into mailouts as we do them.
Good idea,
Yeah.
I like it, do it.
Let's do it.
Well, and something on the website too, like all the places where to buy the.
Yeah, we can do
I
that.
think there's probably a link to this.
Yeah,
that
we
you
can
can put
probably
on
For
the
sure,
website.
we can.
And also, your worship, Mr. Mayor, we also have a family here that had to deal with this some time ago, we spoke about it. And
Yeah, the
they-
Ballagers, yeah.
Yeah, they had quite an issue with that, and their neighbors and, you know, good
Well,
neighbors,
I
but
have a new novel,
a new novel, oh,
Yes.
wonderful.
Mr. Mayor.
Very bad.
Yeah.
So,
But the neat
but
part is-
anyhow, it's being recognized, and I think that's the first step.
It's educate, educate, educate.
And it's definitely something that's not the only issue, but certainly one worth looking into and keeping a handle on and working together. And I think if more people work together, then you're gonna have less issues as a neighborhood.
Yeah, ours aren't working together is the problem.
Yeah.
Well, I think we will have punitive measures available to us if people are being consistently ignorant.
Well,
If
this
they-
year's total has been $1,200, and my husband and I, we spent the summer working in 95-degree weather to rectify our rat issue because of these two families.
Well, if they're proven to be troublemakers as far as leaving attractants out now, we have up to $500 a day potentially, so,
Well,
coming up here for.
Does that work for bird feeders and stuff though, or?
If they're not, if the seeds fall into the ground, I would assume so.
Because I've heard of neighbors throwing out like whole peanuts around in my area. And,
Oh, yeah, people do that, that's.
this
But
is
is
out
that-
of
but is that,
6
but is
of
that
our
allowed,
cedar
though?
bushes. We have 120 cedar bushes in our backyard.
Peanut shells, yeah.
And this was out of 6, and those 6 cedar bushes stink of rats and rat urine. And so we've got a real issue. Now we've tried to talk to the 2 families involved, and it's a harassment issue. And so it's just going on and on and on. And last year was $699, this year is $1,200. And it's reaching far and wide on our, not just our street, but streets over. They've gotten into my brand new vehicle. They've gotten into the girl down the road for $600. An old fellow on Greenwood, he's now moved. His vehicle was parked in his garage, believe it or not. They got into his garage, $1,700 worth of damage, chewing all of his wiring and everything. So, yeah. And I'm not sure, I mean, this is wonderful if you've got them inside, but I'm not sure that I could put that out on my lawn where I've got people running dogs free and children. And we have pets, so I don't know that I would, you know, but I'd like to give it a try.
Yeah,
Hang them in the trees.
Yeah, if it truly have it for a week. But, and another issue too is like you were saying on the website, is the stacking of wood. The wood's being stacked on the ground and it's not up, so the rats are getting in underneath, creating nests along with these squirrels, these ground squirrels that they're feeding. And that just, it's like rat explosion, population explosion.
I think the big thing is attractants and minimizing
Mhm.
the amount of attractants out there. I mean, firewood piles, we can't get into a position where we start mandating where people pile firewood, that's gonna be a
The whole
Well, I'm
peanuts
not
like
saying
that.
about, you know, where they stack them, it's, in the Fraser Health, handout, their flyer, it says that they should be up at least 18 inches up off the ground. So therefore, you're not going to end up with all these rats underneath. When I turn the hose on in the summertime, all the rats come scurrying out because they're all digging in underneath. And I've got documented dates on what rats we caught, what squirrels we caught. Yeah.
you know.
Very
That's-
frustrating.
Ms. Bellingham, you had a point, you wanted to say something, correct? Oh, I misread the situation.
Sorry.
There we go.
No.
Not the first time that's happened.
Mhm.
Yeah. Comments from council?
We will do what we can to get the message out to the residents for ways that they can be proactive and get some information about what they can purchase and do the best we can that way.
We can talk to our peers as well and our colleagues and see what other areas are doing as well. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
If something's working, then maybe we can bring it forward.
Well, I have poison boxes out, and what concerns me with the poison boxes is the cycle. So you're poisoning a rat, along come the coyote eats that rat, that gets poisoned, and then the larger animals eat off of that. So I'm not really a lover of poison boxes. And we put out the traps, but I really don't like using those either, because like I said, we have people with cats, dogs off leash, children.
Yeah.
I've got it posted in our front yard, you know, that we're using these items in our yard. And, yeah,
Well, it sounds like you're doing what you can do.
yeah, we are, and it's taking its financial toll,
Mhm.
yeah.
We appreciate you coming. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, additional comments? Okay, I guess a motion to, do.
So moved.
Okay.
You don't have to know how.
Mr. Pratt.